Welcome back to the Tavern, friends. Before you recruit some new minions for the battle, let me welcome you to episode 24 of Tavern Tales. I am your host, Totally Drunk. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at all the recent happenings around Hearthstone Battlegrounds and what we've been up to here in these last few weeks. So before we jump into the discussion and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight in the tavern, as always, is my co-host Edinar and Ed. Maybe not the most eventful couple of weeks in regards to news. We did have a recent AMA that we'll be diving into in regards to like some of the things that are in the pipeline here. But I have to say, like, Battlegrounds has been pretty a-okay in my book here as of late. But I'll share my weeks here in just a minute. But how are things in your front?
I mean, it's going good. It's been a little rough, just for the simple fact that I haven't been winning as much. Because I haven't been forcing Murlocs as much as I probably should. But I'm doing it anyway. So yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun. Been playing on both my accounts, a decent amount. So my alt account I'm still at 6K for my main account, but I am I'm at 5100 on my alt account, which I really haven't played all that much, but just tearing through people at this point. So yeah, no, it's been good. How's your week been?
I mean, it's been alright, Started at, 6585. Climbed 409. So, pretty good. So I ended at 6994.
And you're scared shitless of...
I am mentally boomed right now. Just because, like, this is without question the streakiest bit of play I've ever had within the Battlegrounds. So looking back, in the past 10 games that I played on my primary account, I finished in the top 4 in 9 out of those 10. Plus 409 is pretty damn good. So, within there, I had a streak of like 7 consecutive top 4 games. One of those was a lobby win. Then I got a 6th place game, and I was like, oh man, like, there goes my luck. But then after that, I got back-to-back lobby wins. So, like, whatever little bit I lost in that one game, I just gained back tenfold because of the lobby wins in this case. And you know what's interesting about this 10-run game that I'm on, Ed?
What's that?
It's the fact that in only one of those games out of the 10, I actually ran Murloc. But it wasn't, like, full-blown Murloc. This was a situation where I got some early crowd favorites, and then I was transitioning to Murloc because the person that was ahead of me at the time was running Murlocs. So, like, I didn't, like, fully commit to it, but I was going towards that direction. But I didn't do it quick enough, so I was running, like, 2 crowd favorites pretty late into the game, which, at that point, I was not going to win anyways, but it still ended up being a top 4 in that case. But that was, like, the closest I came to actually having half of a Murloc board. It's for the most part actually been Menagerie since the last patch. That's been my go-to in this case. And if it hasn't been that, it's pretty much been, Divine Shield builds, whether just with the Mech Tribe or the Calicos Dragons as well. But to say, like, I am petrified of logging in, getting to 5th place, and then it just snowballing out of my control is definitely something of note, because I've been very fortunate in these 10 games, and, just shy of 7K, which I didn't even think I was going to be able to hit. But, if I just log in and then I get, like, a top 4, I'm just going to let it sit, because, 6K had always been my goal within Battlegrounds, and all of a sudden I'm pushing 7K, so it's just like, at what point is that pendulum going to swing back the other direction? Because it's going to happen. It always does.
It always does. But no, yeah, it's good for you. You need to push for that though. You need to push for that 7K soon, and then just leave it.
Yeah, we did do a couple of games on Europe with our accounts, which was like
Yep.
I think I've played like 4 games and it's been like 50-50 on that front in regards to top fours, but haven't really necessarily been pushing anything on that front. But 7K possibility. So we'll have to see what
Yeah,
happens.
I
In
will
the next
never
month.
get to 7K. I'm content being at just above 6K, and that's where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna float below, higher. I'm right in that level, and I'm content with there.
Yeah, well, as uneasy as I feel right now, I know there's still a little bit of like unrest within the community with the recent expansion Skolo coming out and everyone's Tavern Pass perks essentially being reset. So like if you haven't played since that patch, and if you had perks prior to that, you are going to have to buy them again in the shop. And again, like if you don't remember what the price points were, they were either $19.99 or you could spend 2,500 gold. Now, again, the perks, they unlock, the stats page, as well as giving you 4 hero options at the start of the game. But, we're still at this point now where every time they roll around, you hear the disdain about the implementation of the system in play here. We still have, like, the lack of any sort of, like, Battlegrounds quests or just, like, rewards really with the perks. And when they get removed, it's just like, well, here we go again. I'm basically paying $20 to have something for a couple of months in this case. And it really got me thinking. Like, obviously, I don't think there's an ideal way to like monetize Battlegrounds right now. But like, I wonder when we're talking about like the player pool here, what size of the player pool is actually only run in Battlegrounds? Because, like, I know for me, I definitely play Battlegrounds probably like 98% of the time whenever I'm launching Hearthstone. But I don't know if that's just a very small minority or if there are other people out there who are also doing that. And if people aren't happy with, we'll say, like, wild or, ranked play, are those people just outright not playing, or are they actually being enticed to play Battlegrounds, or are they just, not playing Hearthstone altogether? Like, I have so many questions about that, but, it still seems like, people are wanting more rewards from, like, a Battlegrounds perspective, but I don't see that really being in the pipeline at this case in time.
No, and so as far as the perks, I'll kind of break this down. The perks that you buy, the battle pass that you buy. Okay, first off, it's the only way to monetize Battlegrounds. It's the only way, and it is not that expensive. So you know what? I have zero problem. And the simple fact is, you do not actually need to play. It costs 700 gold to buy the pass. Okay, that's like a week of Hearthstone challenges, regular Hearthstone challenges, which you can play and could get with no cards except for base cards. Because it's like play 3 games as a rogue, 100 gold. So it's like anyone who complains about that, shut up. Like, no offense, but like it's a free game and they have to monetize it somehow. And this is the only way they can monetize it. And if you don't want to pay money for it, play regular Hearthstone for a week, like for 20 minutes a day. Like that's all it will take. So as far as that, but on the scale of like rewards and stuff like that, I do think they need to implement something. I don't know how they could do it. You could have special banners, stuff like that, if you hit a certain rank, because the implementation or the theory that we'll talk about a little later is that we're gonna have like quarterly resets, like basically seasons when it comes to Battlegrounds. If you do that, then you can you can have rewards and things like that that are purely cosmetic. So I think they could go that route, but I think that's the only route they could take in regards to rewarding players for their play.
Mm-hmm.
And there are Battlegrounds quests in regular Hearthstone to get gold. They don't come around that often, but it's like play 3 Battlegrounds and get 100 gold. Or win 3 games. And that's all it is, but all you have to do is place top 4 in Battlegrounds. And that counts as a win. So you have stuff like that, but it doesn't come around that often.
I was gonna say I don't think I've actually seen those in my quests. But then again, I'm not really like resetting or cycling through them either, so that's also partially on me. Now, normally, every week or two, we kind of like look back at the weeks that we had, and we had a very, very distinct thing that really didn't go our way, and we shout to the clouds, we curse the name of Celestalon, and then we go back to our usual business at that point in time. And Ed, I am struggling here. Because, honestly, what do I have to blame Celestalon on this week? Oh, sorry I didn't, like, why didn't you let me just win 10 games in a row? Like, that'd be too selfish of me. I can't do that. Like, I'm drawing a blank this week because I felt like, sure, like, I didn't necessarily, like, win every lobby I was in, but that's never gonna happen. And I got three lobby wins out of those 10 games too, and like even that for me is definitely on the higher end too. So it's just like, well, I got nothing, Celestalon. So yeah. But that being said, if I log in and then immediately lose, and it snowballs the other way, then I'm definitely gonna have something.
I mean I don't doubt any of that. I don't even really have anything for Celeste to blame on Celestalon either, except for the excessive amount of Murlocs, which we will get into shortly. But just the excessive Murlocs is still a problem. That's the only thing I can blame on you, Celestalon. And you know what? That's going to be my go-to.
We could have just been like, oh, you didn't answer our questions in the AMA. We didn't submit any.
Okay, I was going to be like, what did we submit?
Nothing, and that's the point. But see, if I just said that, he would have been like digging through the AMA, cycling through. Yeah, there's nothing.
No. All right. Fair enough.
But let's talk about that AMA that we had here recently. Because I'll be honest, Ed, I had no idea about this. I
didn't either.
You mentioned it to me. And, they did touch up on the Battle Pass. Funny, because obviously they keep hearing outcry about it. So they were talking about the controversy around the Battle Pass. So Ben Lee confirmed that a major rework of the awards and progression system will hit around the time of the next expansion, and they are expanding the Tavern Pass to supplement this with new cosmetics. It's the intention of the team that this is a repackaging of existing rewards and to allow people to earn rewards in modes other than Standard and Wild. They do not intend for it to change the amount of gold or packs you earn during an expansion cycle, and a survey that went out is meant to help refine the design of that system. He also mentions that types of surveys have been used for years, and often they've discussed in these surveys does not necessarily represent what ends up going into the game. So, like, it does seem like they want to do something with, the Tavern Pass. With cosmetics, but it's just like, what can they really do? Like, is it going to be a situation where you just get, like, different hero portraits? Like, nothing is really, like, jumping out to me off the top of my head that could be something that's cosmetic for Battlegrounds only in this case.
The only thing I could think of is like banner frames to some degree. Yeah, that's all I can really think about. Is like you have different banners, like gold banners, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I can't think of anything else.
I mean, portrait frames has definitely been something that Blizzard has used in the past. I mean, you see it with Overwatch levels. Same with Diablo 3 with the portraits. So I feel like that would be a pretty safe bet in that case. But like, you know, the hero icons I think too would definitely be something else that they could potentially look at, because they wouldn't necessarily have to like design what first appears at like Hero Select. It would just be for what displays in the lobby.
Yeah.
And that would be, I think, easier in the long run, rather than something that is a bit more upscaled in case of, you know, Hero Select at that point. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but they also talked quite a bit about Battlegrounds as well. Alright, so for starters, Hero Balance is coming up very soon, and they mentioned that a Eudora nerf specifically is in the works. Now, obviously, like, ever since Eudora came out, Eudora's been pretty good, you know? Like, not like she, like, compared to the other pirates, Eudora's definitely been blowing them out of the water. But if you look at HS replay here, you know, for the past couple of patches, really, Eudora's been on the top spot, currently sitting at an average placement of 3.55 and a 92.4% pick rate. And in those games, the first place rate is 24.55%. So pretty clear-cut difference between Eudora and the rest of the Battlegrounds heroes, because she is the only hero within BGs right now that has an average placement better than a top 4. You know, you do have a couple heroes that are close behind for, like, a 4 average, like, you know, Kael'thas, Maiev, Shadowsong, Jiraxxus is still up there. But, you know, still not able to really match what Eudora has been doing. And, you know, you have to feel like part of that is Eudoras have really gotten into this rhythm of, if they don't have a token drop. Well, actually, even when they have a token drop, I've still seen them digging on turn 1, and they will just sell the Scout or the Tabby Cat. But being able to get, you know, those essentially free triples after you dig for 4 times, the power swing that you get on those particular turns is very high compared to other heroes. And, you know, it might not come into play as much once you get to, like, you know, we'll say, like, turn 13 or 14, usually when you're about to go up to, like, Tavern 6, if you do go that direction. But the early game is astronomical for Eudora players out there, and it can lead to some major damage coming out on, like, turn 5 in a lot of situations, where suddenly you're taking 20 plus damage and you're unable to recover at that point.
Yeah, Eudora has one of those things. Like, the biggest problem I have with Eudora is that Eudora has made the game so much more like it's gone so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now it used to be like, okay, turn 7, 8, you know what, you were building your team. But with Eudora in the lobby, at turn 7 and 8, you better have a strong board. Now, yes, it has made the games quicker, but it's made it not as fun. Because it's like, okay, we're all just trying to compete with Eudora
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And I don't know how I feel about it, but it is definitely something that needs to be changed, because it is a tad strong. And by tad, I mean super strong. So it needs to be nerfed. No card should be this powerful. Um, Now what they do to it is I don't know. Maybe they add an extra turn for digs.
Mm-hmm.
That could be something. Um, but yeah, that's all I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Is
because I don't think
add
you
an
could.
extra turn.
I don't think you could change the hero power cost. 2 would be way too
No,
costly in this case.
2 would make it the worst hero power in the game's history. If it was 2, um, because yeah, you're just paying way too much. But increasing the gold, the amount of gold uses it takes by 1 would definitely lengthen out the game and not make it as strong. Especially early game, because you can force out some cards really quickly. You can get that, that tier 4 card in turn 6, 5. Yeah, turn 5 you can get that tier 4 card, and then turn 9 you're basically getting a tier 6 card, and everyone else is at tier 4. And you're just dominating people that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does need to be changed. I think it's going to be something along the lines of, increasing the cost by 1 gold.
Outside of that, they've also talked about an MMR reset and future seasonal resets being planned for the next major Battlegrounds update, or likely being planned.
Mm-hmm.
So would this just be tied directly to each season in this case? Because I can't imagine it's just gonna be like, okay, every month we're going to have an MMR reset, because at that point, that would just be happening too frequently.
From the sound of it and how I read this is every 3 to 4 months. And it even could be like, well, when it says seasonal resets, I think 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So like every 3 months, but it could even be every 4 months, kind of like how the expansions are.
Right.
So that's why I just cut the middle between 3 and 4. And I think a reset every 3 to 4 months is totally fine. In regards to this, and it's not going to be a hard reset. Like, everyone's not going to get moved down to 4,000. Like, that's just not going to happen. What they're going to do is they're going to find some way, some algorithm to take out what rank you're at now and how many games you played, kind of like what it does in regular Hearthstone now. It doesn't move everyone back to the most bottom of the bottom queue. I don't think really any games do. So, I think it will be like that, which is totally fine with me. That prevents a-holes who are 7 points shy of hitting something from not playing their accounts.
I don't know what you're implying, because I'm definitely going to play within the next 4 months.
Okay, all right. Keep telling yourself that.
Oh, I am. But anyways, looking at tokens, interesting note here, the team doesn't think that minion damage from spawn tokens are an issue right now, but they do have 2 exceptions in this case. You have Nat Pagel, who, of course, has the overkill, where if you kill something, it spawns the treasure chest, which I'm sure we both have had some pretty bad experience on the opposite end of
everyone's
that.
had that.
And then the other one, also pirate-based, is the pirate ship. And
I've been screwed over by the pirate ship.
So have I, and it's definitely more so that than like things like, the mech death rattle, more so with even more than Rat Pack or anything like that. I mean, people forget Shredder is even in the game, so like you really don't see him that often, so people will never complain about that. But Nat Pagel and Pirate Ship, on the other hand, definitely far more common than what we've seen, and like to a degree, I don't think Gas Coiler is quite in the conversation either, even with 2 spawn Death Rattle minions. But it's not to say that you can't get a chain where you have another death rattle minion that comes into play that also has a death rattle that like spawns another minion. So there are some situations where that one can be a bit excessive, but it's not as common as what you would be seeing with Pagel or the pirate ship.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with pirate ship, you're playing it, and you're guaranteed. If you're playing pirates, here's the big difference. You have 3 things that are going to spawn if you're playing pirates that are guaranteed to help your composition
Mm-hmm.
because they are spawning pirates and you're running pirate. So they're guaranteed to help your board, like your whole team, not just your board, just your whole team. And I think that's kind of the issue. Um, they could change it to spawn 3 whatever or just 2. I don't know how they'll change that. As far as Nat Pagel, I don't know how they could change it. Like right now, it spawns a golden, right? It spawns a golden.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they change it. They reduce it a tier, and it doesn't spawn a golden. It just spawns a random card if it overkills. So give it tier 4. If it overkills, spawns a 0/2. When killed, spawns a random minion. That could be it. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to look at it, but I do agree that unlike all other ones, the RNG of this is just a little too much and can be way too power swingy
Mm-hmm.
for it. And I think they do need to take a peek at it. So yes, I agree with this. Looking at these.
So the dev team is also admitting that they are looking at ways to tune down the power of endgame Murlocs. But they did mention like they still want them to be a viable endgame build,
Which they can be.
which interesting. Like who would have thought Murlocs were a problem in the game right now? It's not like we
Weird.
had an episode dedicated to that 2 weeks ago.
And I'm pretty sure we've had multiple episodes about this.
There's been a minimum 2
Yes.
with a dedicated topic on it as well. And like I'll say this too. It's just like I know you and I have had different experience with Murlocs in regards to how often they are recurring in our lobbies. And it seems like, very similar to the pendulum that I have with the Raiden. It's like 1 week's very Murloc heavy, then the next week not so much. And it just goes back and forth. I haven't really seen too much of a middle ground in that regard, but I know in most cases in your games, you've definitely been seeing them a lot more often and consistently than I have. So obviously, like, our perspectives here are going to be a little bit different. Now, that being said, obviously, when there are Murlocs in my games, they still do tend to come out ahead. So, if we're talking like first place like finishes, they're still within the vast majority of those lobbies, even when they are in play. And when it's not them, even if they are in the lobby, it might just be, oh, I just had a ghoul. Maybe I was able to get rid of their divine shield, or maybe I was able to do enough with poisons on my end, or I had a better mirrored composition than they did. But that's not that often.
Yeah. No, Murlocs are still super oppressive. And they need to be changed. I'm not gonna go how I would change it because, well, we've gone over that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly think that it's going to be something that is going to be changed hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the only other tribe that they made mention of during this AMA is that they are looking to buff Beast now that Goldrin is a 6-star minion. And I just say it, like, I have not been seeing a ton of Beast builds within the game here. Here in the recent patches, ever since they did make that change to Goldrin. Because once they made the change with Macaw, You didn't really see the Death Rattle builds, and then by moving Goldrin up, that was essentially like a double nerf to that tribe, just because those two were often paired with one another. And when you double dip in the balance change like that, you're essentially just cutting off the legs of the tribe altogether. Where now it's more so, okay, like maybe I'll use a Cave Hydra in these Menagerie builds, and then outside of that, um, maybe you'll be seeing some Maximas popping up here and there within some of the builds, and that's to try to counteract, other poisons if you're going up against Murlocs in your lobbies. But you're not seeing a ton of Beasters outright, even with people like trying to like say build off of a Hyena like on the start. They're just not that common.
Beasts are basically useless at this point. After they move Goldrin, because you had the Macaw builds, which were fairly powerful, not overpowered in the slightest. And then they made the weird move of moving Goldrin to tier 6, which I don't think many people got.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: a lot of times Hearthstone changes cards preemptively because they know future like heroes or future cards are gonna make it too powerful where it's at. So they do a preemptive change. So that could be the case here, but right now you have. All right, let's look at the beasts that are worth damn. Early game, you can run Rat Pack and Scavenging Hyena. That's fine. That's fine early game. Mid game, they don't really have anything. They have Hydra, but you have to spend so much just buffing that Hydra that a lot of times it doesn't work. So you have one card in tier 3, 4, and 5 that are actually decent cards for beasts. That won't cut it. It just won't. You have niche cards that fit in, like Macaw. Macaw fits in better with other builds over beasts. It just happens to be a beast. You have the runt that, you know what, if all else fails, you need to pick one. You pick the runt and hope it overkills something. But really, their cards are kind of crap that don't have a lot of synergy together. Because when you think of it, what is the name of the card? The tier 2 card when you play a Death Rattle game +1/+1. The Raptor. Sarlisk. When you play that, that's a beast, but you're not playing it in a beast comp. You're playing it in a Death Rattle comp. The Macaw, you're playing in a Death Rattle comp, not in a beast comp anymore. So it's like they don't really have that much synergy between all of them. And that's what they need to change. So they really need to do some work with beasts because they need some loving.
I do find it interesting. I am looking on HS Replay at the compositions for the current patch, and Beast is actually the second highest in regards to average placement. So I just want to go over like the minions here that are actually within the final board to see if it like reflects on some of our thoughts on it. So looking at the final board state, minions in play, you have Macaw, Goldrin, Hydra, Maxna. You have Rivendare, Mama Bear, and an Amalgadon.
And see, right there, that's the problem. You have their composition requires 4 tier 6 cards.
Yeah, it's completely built around making sure you have the Goldrin to be able to buff your board.
Mm-hmm. And you have to have a Baron, and you have to have a Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's mandatory. You have 4 cards that are mandatory to make this work. And if you don't have all 4 of them, then you might as well just give up.
Well, the mama bear in this case isn't really seeing value unless you're getting one
Unless
of
you're
those other
playing it
key cards
before the
on that turn.
yeah, you have to play it before like the cave hydra and whatnot. So I mean, in this, dragons are number one,
Mm-hmm.
and beasts, and then token demons. It's just it's one of those things where I just don't see it. Um, the numbers put it there as the average placement, but the popularity is not there. It's towards the bottom. Like and that's how much it actually is most likely to get played.
Yeah,
Because like it's Murlocs, Menagerie, Dragons, Pirates, Mechs are all above it.
yeah, 6 out of
And
9.
yeah, it's only above Divine Shield, Big Demons, and Token Demons. So
I do find it interesting. You would think demons would be a bit higher considering where Jiraxis is placed.
I do too. The only thing I can think of with demons is so you have two completely different demon builds that you have to decide on early on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what screws it up. Like token demons, if you can get those jugglers, is almost a guaranteed first place. Top four, not first place. Top four if you get a juggler early on, but you're not winning.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of
With
that is
at
just the
all.
fact that, all of the other builds that typically beat it are able to scale, and you don't really get to do that with, like, token demons at all.
Yeah. So like big demons has a higher percentage chance of being in first place than token demon. But token demons places on average higher. And that's because you have to decide early on that you're not going to really be a token comp. You're just going to get that Wrath Reaver and that Floating Watcher, and you're just going to build the living crap out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the only thing that you can do. So that doesn't surprise me that they're both towards the bottom as far as like popularity, because you never know what you're gonna go in, but you have to decide so early on.
Right. I mean, outside of that, there really wasn't anything else in regards to this AMA about Battlegrounds, unfortunately. But I can't be like too let down by that just because it was like a Hearthstone overall AMA. So it's not like we're gonna have like a ton of things within it specifically to the stuff that we normally are talking about on the show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a nice change of pace to have something other than just patch notes
Mm-hmm.
or us coming up with a random topic. It's nice to have an AMA.
Right. But it is what it is. Hopefully, we'll be seeing some balance changes here fairly shortly, which, I mean, does seem to be the case. And, if. I mean, I would be hoping that they would get the Murloc and the Beast changes in together in the same patch, and if not, maybe they will stagger them here in just a bit. But doesn't seem like it's going to be too far off. So we should be seeing something here fairly shortly then.
Yep, I expect something in the next 2-3 weeks.
All right, sounds good. So that basically covers everything happening in our world in regards to Battlegrounds. So if you guys want to help us out, please do us a solid. Head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Obviously, we still are looking for, other things to kind of like add onto the show. So if you guys have any segment ideas, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to do that, of course, you can reach us a number of different ways. So Ed, please let listeners know how they can do that.
All right. So you can reach us through email at taverntailspodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at taverntailshs. We are on Twitch at twitch.tv/taverntailshs. Live on Thursdays, normally on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. We do have a Discord, and that's at discord.me/OWLN show. You can find me personally on Twitter, and that's at Edinar83, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Edinar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can follow me over on Twitter. That would be at Tumblely Drunk, and I do stream typically Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays over on Twitch. that being at twitch.tv/tumbledrunk. You can typically find me either playing Battlegrounds or Overwatch. Right, so with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us in the tavern tonight on, typically an off night for episode number 24. Best of luck in the tavern, and we hope to see you guys back for our next week. You take care, and have a good night.
Peace out.